What's up, Taiwan? I'm Laurel Stewart with the news from here in Taiwan and around the world. US President Donald Trump appears to be downplaying the risk of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan, suggesting he may discuss the issue with Chinese President Xi Jinping at APEC later this month. Cadence Caranta reports.
US President Donald Trump is asked by a reporter about the likelihood of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. In response, he says something striking.
China doesn't want to do that. First of all, the United States is the strongest military power in the world by far. It's not even close. Not even close. We have the best equipment. We have the best of everything, and nobody's going to mess with that. And I don't see that at all with President Xi. I think we're going to get along very well as it pertains to Taiwan and others.
Trump was speaking at a meeting with Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. His comments come as China has been stepping up efforts to intimidate and influence Taiwan. China considers the country part of its territory and has not ruled out the use of force to take control of it. Trump has also indicated he may discuss Taiwan with Chinese President Xi Jinping later next week, when the two are expected to meet on the sidelines of APEC in South Korea. Trump has indicated his priority is reaching a, quote, fair trade deal with China. Asked whether the U.S. would consider adjusting its position on Taiwan independence to reach such a deal, Trump said, quote, "We're going to be talking about a lot of things. I assume that will be one of them." In response, Taiwan officials have appeared to try to reassure that U.S. support for Taiwan is stable, with its foreign ministry saying this.
其实从川普政府上任以来，已经多次明确地重申对于台湾的支持，以及美国长期的一贯政策。外交部这边会持续密切地关注各项相关的发展，并且跟美方保持沟通，以确保台美的关系持续稳定的深化，以及对我们的利益能够获得确实的保障。
And its premier, pressed by legislators, says he remains hopeful about any discussion of Taiwan between Trump and Xi.
那台湾跟美国同样站在世界 AI 关键领先地位这个角色，不论是台湾协助美国，或是台湾一起跟美国一起再壮大起来。我希望，我也相信，川普总统即使跟习主席在见面的时候，应该站在美国、台湾跟世界共同利益的角度上。
One expert also said he doesn't believe Trump will make any concessions on Taiwan during the meeting.
Donald Trump has a nose for power, and he has an instinct for power, and he doesn't like to be the least powerful person in the room. He wants to be the most powerful person in any room. And so for this reason, I don't see him as making concessions that he feels fundamentally endanger his position or that of the United States.
All this comes as some have raised questions about Trump's commitment to Taiwan. The Trump administration has several times appeared to undercut its relations with Taiwan amid trade talks with China. And there have been reports that Beijing has repeatedly pressed Trump to declare that the U.S. opposes Taiwan independence. For now, Taiwan will be waiting to see what comes out of the expected Trump-Xi meeting and what it could mean for its security and its future. Chris Ma and Cadence Caranta for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's defense minister is warning of delays to arms imports from the U.S.
我们可以预期到明年会有交付，但是不是能够全部交运完毕，在这一点事情上面，我觉得确实有它的挑战性。
Taiwan is awaiting 66 fighter jets from the US. The F-16s were set to be delivered in 2 batches, 26 this year and 38 next year. But production and delivery for both batches are delayed. It comes as US and Taiwanese officials meet in Maryland for a defense industry conference. They're expected to discuss a possible partnership on Taiwan's recently announced T-Dome air defense system. Taiwan has detained several celebrities for allegedly dodging their required military service. It comes as the country steps up investigations and penalties for people who evade conscription, following a high-profile case involving actor Darren Wang earlier this year. The Interior Ministry says it suspects more than 90 people of using falsified documents, citing high blood pressure to get out of serving. Takaichi Sanae is set to become Japan's next prime minister after a parliamentary vote. Takaichi will be the first woman to lead the country. She's known for her conservative politics and admiration for the late UK Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. She is also known for her friendly stance towards Taiwan. Earlier this year, she led a delegation to meet with President Lai Ching-te. She now faces the challenge of rebuilding public trust in her Liberal Democratic Party after an electoral defeat this summer. The US and Australia have agreed to invest over $2 billion in a rare earths deal aimed at reducing reliance on China. The deal targets critical minerals like lithium and nickel, essential for electric vehicle batteries, aircraft engines, military radars, and advanced electronics. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese signed the agreement with US President Donald Trump at the White House on Monday. Each country will invest about $1 billion over the next 6 months to boost mining and processing of these strategic materials. China says it's still on track to reach its economic growth goal for 2025, despite seeing the weakest growth in a year. The government says the full-year goal is around 5%, and the first 3 quarters have laid a, quote, solid foundation for it to hit that number. This comes as Communist Party leaders gather in Beijing for what's called the 4th plenum, where they will discuss plans for the next 5 years, including the economy. Thousands of online services were disrupted on Monday after Amazon Web Services, a hosting platform with millions of clients, suffered a massive outage. Leslie Liao has more.
From online banking to apps to order coffee, a third of the internet came to a standstill on Monday, as millions of users reported issues accessing a wide range of services and websites they've come to rely on. At the heart of the outage is tech giant Amazon, specifically its subsidiary Amazon Web Services. It provides hosting for other internet services. This allows Amazon's clients to forego building and maintaining their own net infrastructure. AWS holds the biggest market share among competitors. That means a lot of internet runs on the company's servers.
Frankly, lots of apps and services nowadays are global. So while you may be logging on to a website or an app or a service from the UK, there might be a component of that app which is based in the United States, which relies on that AWS US East server.
Amazon says the outage came down to something called DNS, or the Domain Name System. Every time you click a link, the DNS converts the link into a series of numbers that helps navigate users through the internet. Amazon says the issue has been fixed. Few suspect that malicious activity was involved.
But when there's an outage, it cascades, and then the company starts to rebuild and you see things being restored and being improved, that's usually indicative of something that does not have a cybersecurity component to it.
But the incident has brought up questions about Amazon's dominance in the field and how one tech hiccup at a single company can impact millions of internet users.
These things are often perfectly running and absolutely fine. They have, 99.99999% uptime. So the unfortunate thing is when this does happen infrequently, because these individual companies are so large and have such a big share of the market, it does have this cascading impact where one system goes down, then another, and then suddenly half the internet is gone.
For the most part, the internet is back up and running. But this incident shows that for how massive the internet is, it can be shockingly fragile. Alex Chen and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
TaiwanPlus was among the thousands of applications affected by the AWS outage on Monday. EU leaders say they are close to a deal to provide a more than $160 billion loan to Ukraine. The loan would be backed by Russian central bank assets frozen shortly after its 2022 invasion of Ukraine. They hope to put Kyiv in a better position ahead of upcoming talks between Russian President Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump in Budapest. It follows a tense White House meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in which Trump refused to provide Kyiv with Tomahawk missiles. Trump also raised new doubts on Monday about Ukraine's ability to beat Russia, but denied reports he pressured Zelensky to give up territory or be destroyed. US Vice President J.D. Vance is on a mission to make sure the October 10th ceasefire in Gaza holds. But with deadly flare-ups of violence and Hamas's reluctance to disarm and hand over control of Gaza, a lasting peace could be elusive. John Vance reports.
Why are you coming to Israel?
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is headed to Israel. His mission, to shore up a ceasefire in the Gaza war. The return of peace after 2 years of fighting in Gaza is a project U.S. President Donald Trump has pushed hard for. But an October 10th ceasefire has fallen apart more than once, with both sides accusing the other of violations. Gazan officials say at least 97 Palestinians have been killed since the ceasefire took effect. Flare-up Sunday saw 2 Israeli soldiers and 28 people in Gaza killed. Some Gazans who've lost relatives say they have no faith in the truce.
It is all lies. There is none of it. This is the ceasefire, as you can see. There are some people under the rubble. Those we could bring out are here, but others are still under the rubble.
We are defenseless people. They said there was a truce, that we were included in it, that this was a safe space, and there is a truce. But this enemy has no commitment. This army, you cannot hold it to anything.
One issue is the so-called yellow line, beyond which Israeli forces have withdrawn. Gazans say, with just a few physical markers only now being put in place, it's hard to tell just by looking on a map where the line actually is. But Israel says there have been Palestinian attempts to breach it. Still, none of this has stopped efforts, especially from the U.S., to keep the ceasefire on track. Vance is slated to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as part of the U.S.'s diplomatic efforts.
We'll discuss 2 issues, mainly 2 issues, about the security challenges we are facing and about the political opportunities we are facing. We'll overcome the challenges and we'll realize the opportunities.
And on the ground, there are signs of progress towards peace. On Monday night, Israel retrieved the body said to be of one of the hostages Hamas took in 2023. Israel says that leaves 15 dead hostages in Gaza, 13 Israeli and 2 foreign. In Gaza, aid trucks sent to ease the humanitarian disaster of the past 2 years began to flow in once more on Monday, after the flare-ups of violence led Israel to block them. It may not be enough to stop the suffering in Gaza, but the UN is pleased there's at least some help on the way.
Over the weekend, we and our partners continued to collect aid from the Karim Shalom Kesufim crossings. This included postpartum hygiene kits, medical supplies, fuel, food, and water.
Even with peace apparently back, there are questions about how far Trump's plan will get off the ground. This is just stage 1. Trump's ultimate goal is to disarm Hamas and turn Gaza over to an international force. Hamas, though, is resisting disarmament and rejecting any foreign administration in Gaza. Trump says he isn't going to give Hamas a choice.
We made a deal with Hamas that, they're going to be very good, they're going to behave, they're going to be nice, and if they're not, we're going to go in, we're going to eradicate them if we have to. They'll be eradicated, and they know that.
He says U.S. troops wouldn't be on the ground, but he says Israel would, quote, go in 2 minutes if he asked. It's barely 2 weeks since the ceasefire took effect, and peace in Gaza is far from guaranteed. James Lin and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, let's take a look at Team Taiwan winning the 2025 Panettone World Championships in Italy. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care and see you next time.
Thank you for sharing our passion for food and Taiwan. Veggie Island explores the vibrant world of plant-based cuisine.
Wow, this is amazing.
While Taiwan on the Rocks uncovers the stories and craftsmanship behind every sip.
Have you ever tried Taiwanese beer?
Are you ready to taste even more of Taiwan?